Well, let's move on to the gays because we can't go a day in America without talking about the homosexuals, as Bill O'Reilly calls them. It's actually been a pretty good week for the gays again because two more senators this week, Democratic senators, have now endorsed marriage equality. We got Heidi Heitkamp, that's not a made-up name, and Senator Joe Donnelly, they jumped in. Also, a couple Republican senators for the first time jumped in this week. So the only four Democratic senators left that are against marriage equality are Joe Manchin of West Virginia, Mary Landrieu of Louisiana, Mark Pryor of Arkansas, and Tim Johnson of South Dakota. So I guess we'll start. Are these four, is this all politics at this point? Like, is this just, are they all having real revelations and are they really evolving? Or is this purely partisan politics and you got to get on board with the Democratic team?
No, I think it's good. Like a guy like Joe Manchin holding out, you know, he's representing that part of America who still thinks gayness is gross. So good for him. That's really all it comes down to. It's right. It's like this old antiquated thinking and the new, and it's just even you know, a lot of religious people now are they're on board with it. They get that it's not something. Who would choose?
I know. The whole thing about choice is what frustrates me the most. I think a lot of people out there that are bigots are the way that they are because of ignorance, right? They genuinely think that this is like perversion and that gay people make that decision at some point in their lives and they have some sort of illness. And all you have to really do is sit down and educate people and let them know what the reality is. And when it comes to these Democratic representatives, at the end of the day, no one wants to be on the wrong side of history. You know, I was talking to Meghan McCain, and we were tweeting, you know, not a big deal, we're Twitter friends. And look, Meghan McCain has some politics that I don't agree with, but the one thing that I love is she has been an outspoken supporter of gay rights. And, you know, she said, you know, one day when I have kids, I'm going to be proud to say that I was on the right side of history. And I feel the exact same way, and I hope that these representatives feel the same way. Are some of them doing it for politics? Absolutely. And I think that that's lame. I think sometimes you have to stand up for what you truly believe in as opposed to playing politics.
Isn't it crazy that at this point, let's say these four in their heart of hearts really don't think gay people are that evil, but they played that card to get voted in, that they could potentially now be voted out because they're going to do the right thing. Doesn't that just show how crazy politics really is?
Well, it shows how kind of maybe backward their own individual states are. You know, the rural states seem to be the ones that are tough to come along. And so wherever people bump up against other people, it seems like progression happens, right? That's where progressives come from cities. And it's just, and that's, I think, kind of shines a light on what's wrong with the way we are not only our whole political system, that people in states that have no people living in it have just as much power as states that have a. So it's not one man, one vote in America. And I think that we need to take I mean, I don't know if you can ever take away someone's representation, but it's weird that you would have two senators and one congressman.
Right.
That's not right.
So you're saying that the senator from Montana, where they have 7 people, shouldn't be quite as powerful as the guy from Barbara Boxer, let's say, here in California.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes. I'm interested in. It would be nice if we had a parliamentary, you know, kind of government here instead of the one we do. I think we'd get more stuff done, like Canada. By the way, Canada's had gay marriage. And their country hasn't crumbled yet.
And don't you love how every time something good happens in America, like we get health care, all the lunatics say, well, I'm going to move to Canada, where they have health care. We're going to have gay marriage here, I'm moving to Canada, where they have gay marriage. It just shows you how really dumb these people are. But what do you think about, is there going to be a point where it's too late? So like these 4 Democrats that are left, like can we just give them like a cutoff date? Like you have till Wednesday. And then after that, you're not getting any credit, whether you do it or not. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we need some sort of cutoff. Otherwise, we're just dragging these people for all the wrong reasons.
I feel uncomfortable giving them credit now because if you were an opponent of marriage equality or, you know, even gay acceptance, for instance, if you were an opponent of that, how do you just like evolve on that issue so freaking quickly? So I'm not buying that. I mean, I think that probably in their heart of hearts they do believe in marriage equality for gay people, but I just hate that they played the politics and it makes me not want to give them any credit.
Politicians playing politics, is there anything worse?
I can't. I'm gambling. But I will, you know, talk about not giving people credit. You know, I thought it was funny to hear before the election people say we have to vote for Barack Obama because he came out for gay rights. He only took the first black president 3.5 years to realize we shouldn't discriminate against groups of people.
Right.
Wow. don't break your arm patting yourself on the back there, Mr. Obama.
Right, and he
Yeah.
basically only did it because he got sort of cornered into
Yes,
it by
by
Biden, on Meet the Press.
So it's weird to see people, especially someone who's an African American who should be more sensitive to that issue, still play politics with it. I'm going to pander to the people who are bigoted for a little while, and then I'm not going to do it anymore.
But gay rights among the African American community is a very touchy subject as well, because a lot of black people are conservative, they're religious. So even though I totally believe it is a civil rights issue, some black individuals don't see it that way because of their religion.
There's the whole DL phenomenon
Yes.
where these guys are secretly gay and it's not accepted, but they're doing it.
D.L. Hughley's gay?
The D.L. Hughley syndrome, I think it's called. That if we just outed him, that
But
would
don't
be
you think
something.
it's funny that some people think it's like, well, I think the state should vote on it. It's like you shouldn't vote on something like.
Yeah.
How about I think if we voted on regular marriage, I don't know if that would pass either.
Exactly. Or if we had ever voted on interracial marriage, that or black
Right.
people being allowed to vote,
Right.
the minority should not be subjected to the vote of the majority.
In fact, when they got rid of the law banning interracial marriage, only 25% of the country backed that. So they went against the will of the country to enforce the Constitution, which
Yeah.
is nice to see they do that sometimes.
Absolutely. Final point on this. Do you think there's a little bit of a risk in that we put so much focus on social issues in politics? Like there's so many important things going on with the economy and North Korea and all that stuff, and yet so much of our media is just driven by the social stuff. Do you think
Right.
there's an actual risk
Well,
in terms of the discourse?
I'm a little biased because I do an entire hour of social commentary news. But I will say that I do think that it's extremely important because this has a lot to do with liberty and personal liberties. So we have to cover the social news because we have to make sure that there's equality for all groups of people. If there is a case of, like, for instance, we just recently did a story about a high school in Georgia that has never had a racially integrated prom. They've had segregated proms all these years, even after Brown v. the Board of Education. I mean, it's insane. And so it's important to talk about those things because you want to make sure you protect people's rights. And when it comes to marriage equality, we're starting to see progress, and part of the reason why we're seeing progress is because we're shining a bright light on this issue.
And I'm biased also because I don't like Armenians. But the point is.
Bonobos.com is the official outfitter of the Rubin Report. Enter code TRR20 for 20% off your first purchase.